Alright, so this video we're going to be doing Pro League game that just happened this week, Oxygen versus XSET. We'll be focusing on XSET because I looked through it, saw that they lost. So we're always going to be focusing on who lost because it's, better to go through who lost rather than who won. So in this game, we'll obviously be looking at what they did wrong, what things they could have done better, and if they have any bad habits, basically. And then each round, we'll come in here, put our notes on what we see. Got battle planner open if needed, and I think we'll just get to it. So we do see the sledge ban. I see that's been happening throughout the week. It's a strong ban, I guess. He can open a lot of angles. He's got nades. But I don't think in the grand scheme of things that it makes that big a difference, because especially like Ash now has breaching charge, so can still open a lot of the same things that Sledge open. They just obviously don't have the nades, but Maverick in this case has nades. They got 3 flashbangs, or potentially 6. Starting gym. This one I'm going to be watching normal speed, and obviously we're going to be, I think every game will be splitting in half, because number 1, VOD's going to be long anyway, going through it, and number 2, what do you call it? Some people may prefer to watch one half as to the other, so I think I'm just going to keep them split in half. So this setup is interesting with the Goyle shields. Then we see the 2 ADS here. There's a Banshee. Actually, I can be using this thing, huh? I always forget. So we got a Banshee, 2 ADS, shield, shield. I'm assuming this last ADS is going somewhere in the bathroom here. Could be wrong. Mute. I'm assuming they'll mute this. Who knows? Anyway, seems more like a zone. What do you want to call it? A zone control strat here, rather than because the way that this is set up, they're not playing cash this area, which is typical. It look like they're going to be playing more of the construction and bedroom side, logi, probably main, and then I assume, guys somewhere in this area. The only problem I see with this strat is that you've put yourself in a big box, right? And you've given them a lot of free territory. So I guess it depends on how they're going to play it. If either A, they get early picks, or B, they, what do you want to call it? Waste a lot of time and utility to where it comes down to the fact that they have to run in and funnel. We'll see what happens. Getting the outer CC walls here makes sense, especially if you're not getting the cash walls. And then obviously this construction wall here makes sense as well, because since they're playing this shield and they're giving up all this territory for free, we've got the 2 ADS, so this is a clear sign, like, that they're basically going to, like I said, it's a control zone strat. So they're making their area very small, which is basically a double-edged sword. But that also means that the attackers have to push into them, right? So in reality, this strategy is really going to come down to winning their gunfights, because they are going to get condensed down. They've already condensed themselves down on their own. And so when the attackers start constricting them, which is usually what happens, they're going to have to win those gunfights, because there's going to be nowhere to move. There's nowhere to reposition, nowhere to run, basically. You know what I mean? So maybe they're going to be playing guerrilla warfare. Not really sure, but it is a lot of territory to give up for free. And I also would say, when you look at this strategy, it's pretty easy to break apart, depending on how OXG plays it here, because essentially like all you have to do is open this wall and open this wall, right? And pinch them, and there's nowhere to go. They can't rotate. They can't do anything, right? They're stuck in their positions. So you could play anywhere from 1 to 3. I guess it depends where you're going to plant. You know, if it's going to be in gym or if it's going to be in master, like where your plant spot is. But they can do 1 to 3 on jacuzzi, 1 to 3 on cash. Obviously, this is assuming no one dies, perfect round. You know what I mean? But so it would depend what side they're pushing, and then depending on how they want to manpower it, right? They could do possibly 1 on the hatch to drop or 1 on the window here to stop. Because if you cut off all this stuff, right, where they can't move, most likely someone's going to position themselves on the stairs here. So if you play the 1 on the window, that's cutting off this whole rotate. So I just see a lot of problems with this strat in terms of maneuverability, right? And also the fact that you're giving a lot of free real estate just right off the bat. No contests. I was gonna say as well. I think that if I'm oxygen, I therm this wall. He gets up, rotates over, therms this wall, and then you use your Hibanas on this wall. That's just my opinion. But oxygen obviously has their own style of like solo type pushes where they're just kind of all over the place. Interesting to see that they're not taking free real estate right now. I, this is something I want to touch on because I've touched on this in other videos for attackers, and this is good to see because it's pro players. So maybe people will take it more seriously. But as attackers, right? The attacking side is broken down into phases. So first phase, for example, is opening plat wall, possibly opening jacuzzi wall, and then you're gonna drone with your spend however x amount of time that you want to give to your team to do this. You're gonna drone, have your next plan of action, continue that phase, so on and so forth. A lot of T3 teams don't know how to break this down. They are just like run and gun. Either they die or they get some picks, and then they just keep pushing. Obviously, you have aggressive teams, and then you have like standard takes. But it's good to know that sometimes when you get picks or when you're doing these standard takes, it should be broken down into phases. You accomplish your first task, move on, accomplish your next task, move on, and just keep pushing. I'm gonna say right here, this is what I would call playing scared. He's in a real the Zofia here is in a real weird position. Number one, and number two, like most likely this Goyo has been droned, so that's why he's watching this. But I think we just saw that Malusi is sitting on the stairs here, so he's just really putting himself in a vulnerable position. Like this is either A, where you need to get aggressive, or B, you need to pick a different avenue but just sitting here is one of the worst things you could do. Yep, see, he gets picked. So that keep that in mind is when you're making a play like that, um, you need to pick. It's also a failure here that we can see is that the Mav has been sitting over there the whole time. Should have at minimum got the trade, or at best got the pick when the Malusi swung down the stairs. But at minimum, you got to get the 1-for-1. So that was a big failure there. And I also forgot to touch on the fact that we see, obviously, because of her position, she hadn't used any utility. She's got a drone in pocket. So, I mean, that's a huge pick. Even if the Malusi dies at this point, already accomplished his job for the round. I'm pretty sure that was a C4 from Logi. I think the mute's playing Logi. Yeah, C4 from Logi. That's nice. Hard one to hit. So this is their first mistake on XSET side. We're looking at 1 minute 6 seconds. They obviously already picked off the Zofia, which was a huge pick. Had full utility, one drone in pocket. They picked off the Maverick, one drone in pocket. Let's even check. Did he use his nades yet? I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, so that's a huge pick, right? So we got 2 drones that'll never see the light of day, 2 nades, all utility. So the amount of utility that's lost here is just tremendous. But the problem that happens right after is I assume that they had a flank drone on this Malusi, which is why Thermite here just ran in and got that pick like that here in just a sec. Yeah, clearly there's a drone, right? But the problem is when you think about this, right? 5v3 in this scenario. They've got 5 people. They've got 3. There's just a minute left. The Malusi made a misplay here because got too aggressive, right? So they have numbers. They can play time. If in reality, and I don't know where the flank drone is that saw him, if it was at the top of red, if it was at bottom red in the lounge somewhere. You know, I don't know when he was noticed. But the problem with what happened just there is that if he had waited 15 to 20 seconds to do this same move, been a little bit patient there, he could have potentially caught them out here on highway. He could have flanked up in if they were pushing into cash or construction. Any of these things, he could have used that to his advantage, and instead he got over aggressive there. So that's most likely, I think, you know, a couple of these guys, and I don't think Thomas is one of them. I think he played as a sub for someone last season. I can't remember, but I know some of these guys, it's their first actual pro league game. It's on land, so you know people might be pumped up. Maybe he's just ahead of himself. Who knows? But either way, that was a misplay there. Wow. That you can't. Nobody can deny. That is an impressive play. I'm sure that they set this play up just for that, something like that. And the chances of it actually being successful is like astronomical, right? Because he uses his bubble here to shoot the Goyo. What I mean, in just the timing on this Ash right here is just crazy. Like that's like a 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000 chance that this would actually work just like this. So big brain play right there. But you see right away the problem is he. It looks like he's out of position. He's sitting on the bomb chassis there. Gets picked by the therm in the window. So it's a huge play. Awesome to watch. Very entertaining. But right out of the gate, it's like automatically canceled. But they're still in good shape. All they need to play is cross angles right here. They got 39 seconds. It's 2v3. They got 3 flashes, 1 drone. You know what I mean? So at this point, all they have to do is just set up in some spots. They know that they're going to be either coming through the breach over there, coming through one of these windows, or coming through Condor. Those are pretty much the only options at this point in time. Don't know why he made this play. That was a huge throw. Like so, and this has been the case throughout this round, right? They were 3v5 starting at what 107 or something like that. It was somewhere in that time frame, 3v5, right? Then they threw away that Malusi. The Maestro was unfortunate. You know what can you do on that? But he did get his worth. He got that pick, but at the same time, you can argue he lost his bubble to get that pick. Um, but then they were in a really good position, and the Jaeger made a huge misplay there. I think he didn't need to position to that. I'm not sure why he chose to position to that, especially when they know this guy is out on highway that just killed the Maestro. That was a big misplay. All right, so obviously we already broke that round down as to why they died or why they lost, but the other problem that you see here is this dude got an ace, which is impressive. You know, we like to see that. It's entertaining, and I would say he earned it. But the reason he earned it is because they're giving him one kill at a time, right? So he first came over here, picked off the Malusi, who shouldn't have been there. Then I believe that was his first kill. Could be wrong. And then I know he picked off this Maestro here. Then he picked off the Jaeger. Then he picked off, what was this, the smoke that was swinging here on the Condor. And then lastly, he picks off the Goyo, right? So in every single case, it was a one-on-one. Never did they have themselves set up to be in a position of crossfires and numbers, right? And they were even at a 5v3. So you can see there's a huge problem there. Also, the other big thing that we talked about is that they gave a lot of free real estate really quick. Um, so I don't know. There was just misplays. That was 100% their round. They shouldn't have lost it. But we'll come over here to our notes. What did we talk about? So end of round. We had setup was slightly weak, right? Because they gave up a lot of free real estate, free territory. Um, I would say easy to break apart, especially at this level of play. Like when you're talking about the level of or the caliber of players that are playing in this. Once they see a setup like that, I don't think they're going to have too much of an issue breaking that down. And I think that was pretty apparent in what happened there. I guess outside of what their throws, we could say. Feeding free kills. That was very apparent. What else? Over aggressive, which was the feeding of free kills. And then map influence would be the last one, right? Because in this case, they gave a lot of free territory. And then they had a chance to take some map influence back if they were a little bit more patient, but, they chose to do it differently. So we'll go to the next round. Oh, nice. We got some fire going. All right, so changing sites immediately, which is fine. It's common to change sites, especially when you lost the last one. Just move on to the next site. Some teams will play the same site if they think they can fix the problems right away, but in this case, they're changing site. We see that they're showing CCTV, but then you see that they're showing this castle, right? So most likely, they're trying to play a mind game with oxygen, making them think that they're going to go basement. Because on this map, if you see castle, most likely they're going to go basement at this point, right? So that's good because that's going to possibly force them, unless, I don't know if Oxygen plays XSET a bunch and they know each other based on scrims, but this is possibly going to make Oxygen have two conversations of like, if they six pick and they go here, then we got to do this. If not, then we've got to do blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, for those people who don't know this, if you're newer to comp or you just don't understand what he's doing here, I'll just explain it real quick. If you shoot holes randomly like this, or in these, whatever spots that the MAV is going to MAV, then it makes the wall uneven, so it makes it a little bit harder to open. But I would say that's more for the inexperienced player. But at this stage, with these players, at most you might gain a couple seconds, but that's all it's going to be. And you got to think, there's a Therm, a Hibana on the board, so is it going to be useful? Otherwise, looks like a standard setup. I guess Rooney is new. At least a pro scene. We've seen her a couple times in T3. I think I covered her in one of my T3 videos. I don't remember, but I think she's going to be pretty standard at this point because number one, it's a deterrent. Number two, it wastes utility. So you can't get rid of it. So I only see positives with it. I think that she'll be good overall on most sites. Something that we can note is all three ADSs are on cat right there. I got distracted. I'm sorry. Oh, and the other thing we can notice is that they're putting the one Rooney here on this left wall, which I assume is to not only help with the shield here, but to help so that they can't just rush into red at some point later in the round. And then I guess the last thing is that there's no claw on these walls, or on this wall, which makes sense because when they have all three hard breach, you know they're going to break the wall. There's no point in. I mean, again, you're only wasting time. You might get an extra 10, 20 seconds, depending on how they're going to do it, but that's pretty much it. The only issue with it is now they have, 2 minutes wall is open. That's a lot of time to work with and spend making a plan, dealing with this stuff. Like we're talking about phases. Their first phase is already complete. They've opened plat wall. Looks obviously that a Rooney didn't come into play. They've lost that shield as well. Honestly, if I was them, I would have moved one of the ADS over here to protect that shield. But at the same time, does it really matter? Because Ash or Zoph can come below and get it from below. So, I don't know. Got rid of the Melusi or the Banshee. This is a standard setup, but the problem that we're seeing again is that it looks like they're transitioning over to the west side of the map on master side. So they're heavily playing these stairs. They got doubled up on red, right? They got one on rafter, one on I think some people call this swamp down here. I don't know. But bottom garage, and then one's on bottom blue. So you see that everything is gauged towards this side, right? So at this point, if they are transitioning over to the master side, west side, that's a very smart move on their part because there's nothing on that side. There's no people to deal with. It's free territory. Um, they don't necessarily have to mess around with the guy on cat. And most likely, obviously we saw and they probably see that both Cade Claws are on garage. So if they want to open con wall into cache, that's free as well. I had to take a drink of water, so I'm sorry. Speaking of, there it is. So we see that when the smoke was throwing that smoke, the Cade was holding a hard angle there, half health. But the problem is, like we talked about earlier with this strategy, is there's nowhere to go. Same thing with their gym strategy. So both strategies so far seem to be like zone/control strategies. They're playing in specific spots and they're just hoping to win their gunfights, right? They're not playing guerrilla warfare, showing influence anywhere else. They have their set spots and that's where they're playing. So I can see that being a problem, not only in the duration of this game or this half, but in future games to come. Because when other teams start watching their strategies like this, they're going to see that they give up a lot of free real estate. All right, so number one, sorry, I got distracted. Like we talked about, because of this strategy, they have nowhere to go. So this, even though this cage just got, he was holding a hard angle there, he got shot, but now, you know, he has nowhere else to position himself, and he just gets picked right here. So that's exactly what we're talking about. They box themselves in a lot. So that's problem number one. Um, and then so earlier, I'm just going to keep touching on this fact because I can't tell you how many teams just don't understand breaking attack into phases. So if we talk about the phase, right, first phase was breaking that side. Their second phase apparently is rotating and opening cache wall because it's free and there's no one over here. And then I think right before I rewound, the thermite is running in to plant, right? So last phase is getting the plant off, and then obviously you got post plant. And each time you could see that they took the time to drone. Like they're still going at a fast pace. They still have 42 seconds left, but they still have accomplished a lot, right? That means that they're using their time correctly. Interesting spot to plant. Okay, so this is good. You see 4v2, at least good on the oxygen side, not good on the XSET side. But they still have a C4. This guy needs to win this gunfight. But if I'm the Hibana, right, I'm not going to... There's no reason to get aggressive here if you're oxygen in this position. All you have to do is play time. They have plant down. Like, she could run out, possibly rotate up, or just play passive, and then, like, whatever. There's so many options here that in this 4v2 post plant. Like, if they lose... I don't know what to say. So there's the first pick, I guess. He gets it down with the C4. Then we see, so you see the Maverick here is out of position. I went too far back. All right, so yeah, you see this Maverick here is really out of position. I'm not sure if he thought someone was on red. I'm not sure what he was looking at there. But he gets smoked. And now it's a, wow, it's a 1v2 in a matter of seconds. They were in such a good position. This is a good play. Oh, but he gets picked. That could have been clutch right there. But obviously, you know, and when I always talk about when a team fails, it's a team failure overall, right? But in this specific, and it's no different. Obviously, they all made mistakes there that lost them the round, but it all started with the Hibana losing down there. I'm not sure what happened in their comms, but she just like flew out of stock and got smoked. Not even gun up, full sprint. So that's definitely a problem there. But that's not our focus, so it's fine. We are focused on the other side. So in a round, I would say that because of the strategy that happened there, that I think they need to knock out one of the operators and pick up possibly a mute, like if they come back to this site. So what do we want to say here? Possible op change. And this one, they had map influence problems, right? And then boxed in, right? And that's due to their strategy. So I would say strategy again. Probably put an and there, right? Okay. So far we've already got strategy twice, I believe. Or setup. I should probably just change this to strategy. All right, so we got strategy twice. I don't know about over aggressive on this one, just because they really had nowhere to move. So, what can you do with that, right? All right, so next round. Yeah, so you can even see it right here in this replay. Not sure what was called on the comms, but look, she's full sprint right there, not even gun up. So not sure why she did that, but that was a waste there. Whoops. All right, so going basement this time. So they're keeping up with different site each time. Obviously they won the last one, but right away we're gonna know they're going basement, and because of this castle, most likely they're gonna do a form of the SSG strat. So I think that the reason why we see so much roaming when it's on basement at this point is because of Hibana. If Hibana is open because of the new rework on her, it's almost guaranteed that she's gonna open the hatches, right? And even if like she can use all of her pellets just to open this hatch because even if they didn't know that they were doing the SSG strat, right, the Maverick can still open the hatch. So all they need to use the Hibana pellets on, if they want to, is just the kitchen hatch. Not sure about this castle, but you know, these people are probably smarter than me, so what do I know? Something else I want to notice in the downtime for here in a sec is outside of them being all, crazy at the end of the round, which is fine. Like you have, you're excited. I've been in comp matches. Everybody gets excited. But outside of that end of round, you can see every time you watch their cams, they're very focused. They're probably not talking about any crazy stuff. Um, it's always probably like game talk, right? What's going on in the game? What do they need to do? Whatever. All right, so they're choosing to completely ignore um, top floor. It looks like, I don't know if these holes were already placed there, and I'm pretty sure it was the Ash here that shot because she still has all of her charges. So I assume that that hole was already there. I don't know if she just pre-fired it, clipped him, and maybe she doesn't know or what, but that's a huge blunder because we're talking it's 2 minutes 22 seconds in the round, and I mean, this guy's probably basically already dead. Like, even if they get him up, he's a one hit. And this whole strategy revolves around guerrilla warfare, right? They're going to play an area, they're going to waste time, they're going to fall back, they're going to continue to fall back until they go into the site. That's the whole like purpose of this strategy. It's not to die up here, it's just to waste time. Okay, so that's a huge problem too. So right out the gate, we're 1 minute 57. This guy's already left in the round. Sorry, this guy's one hit. Vigil's dead, and like we just talked about, the whole point of this strategy is to stay alive and waste time. So I think the issue with this is number one, they didn't have. You need to have contingency plans, right? So if you're going to use a strat like the SSG strat, right? The number one, what you have to take into account is oxygen. Even though what is it, Yoga and Kino, I think that's their names. Not sure. They're obviously new to the team, right? But then you got Laxing, Foxe, and Vertical. They've all played against this strat multiple times. They've watched VODs on this strat. They've even played against SSG themselves on this strat multiple times, right? So they probably know this strat in and out. So the thing that the XSET has to understand is they're a newer team. At least some of them, I think, are newer to this team or this roster. And if you're going to do a strat like this, number one, you have to understand what the purpose is of it. And I mean, I don't know if this is just misplaying by them in this specific round, but what we do know is that half the round it's not even half the round yet, and they've lost basically two people. And secondly, it seems that so it's for one, it doesn't seem like they understand the purpose of the strat, but two, they don't seem to have any contingency plans because obviously these guys are banking on the fact that oxygen is going to start above clear, they're going to fall back, and then oxygen is going to come down, and then they're going to fall back, right? So it's a continue like tug of war or guerrilla warfare, however you want to phrase it, right? And then But instead, Oxygen goes straight into kitchen, right, and takes that. So that it seems like number one, they don't understand the purpose of this strat, and number two, they don't have any contingency plans if something like this happens. They could have potentially positioned someone up there on main, right, to help this guy, or sorry, not this guy, but the vigil, because that would have been an easy pick if someone was sitting right there and they swung and they killed him in the back, right? And so we see another loss. So that's three people in less than half the round when this specific strategy is all guerrilla warfare. I think this Malusi was even on site, so I believe I saw the Ash had already ran down main. Bam. All right. So I'm not even gonna go into a review on what happened there because we already talked about it. But I would say, you know, understanding the strat's purpose, maybe. What else we got? Contingency plans, right? Spelt that wrong. That's okay. I think that's about it. I mean, they just got outplayed, and I don't know if that's just because Oxygen was better there and they just got simply outplayed, or if it was because they don't understand the strat itself. All right, back to gym bedroom. Okay, so again, they're trying to play mind games. We see the vigil. They're obviously going gym bedroom. Yep, and 16 to the Goyo. So they're trying to make them think that they're going basement again, but I think the Maestro is a dead giveaway as to why they're not going basement. But the other problem that we see here is that because it's the same lineup, yep, so that see they're doing the same setup again. So they got I wouldn't say they lost the round because they misplayed last time, but so obviously there's room to fix those issues, but at the same time you don't want to be predictable, right? Because most likely, again, we're talking this is at the highest level of gameplay is Pro League, right? Whether it's EU or NA, whatever, I would say those two are the best. So these guys are probably much smarter than T3 when we do T3 VODs. So they've already seen this strategy, and when they come in this time, it's probably going to be more efficient than it was the last time. So if you're going to do something like this, you've got to be able to be adaptable because these guys aren't going to fall for the same thing more than once. The So okay, nice, nice. So we see that in this case they do make a small adaptation. There's a Goyo shield here. They have a rotate here. So hopefully they'll be spending some time um, over here, showing some influence and wasting time. The problem that I see is there's no ADS over there. So I don't think that shield is going to last very long. Looks like Oxygen is doing something pretty similar to the last round as well. And there's nothing wrong with doing the same thing, but again, like we talked, there goes that shield. All right, and then you see that he's already gone. So he didn't even waste a minute being over there. That's not his fault, but I'm just saying, like in this setup, they tried to make an adaptation, and it already didn't work, and now all this is free, right? If you think about the standard that is typically done over here, where they, reinforce all the walls and cache, and someone plays in here usually to death, you waste a lot of time and resources. In this case, so far, what they use probably a nade, right? Yeah, so they've wasted one nade and about 40 seconds, but not even actually because you got to take into account the time that they took to run to the building. Oh, something I wanted to talk about. I did go into the game. I forgot to touch on this the first round. I did go into the game to see this. If you are to blow this wall or make some bulletproof, this shield is actually not in a good position because you can get a line of sight right into this all the way to the bed here, right? So if the guy who's playing this shield just like happens to swing like on this corner out on the door, it's a free pick. So you can either breach that wall or just shoot some bullet holes there, and it's a nice long angle that sees all the way from here into the corner of the bedroom. So in the shield doesn't protect it. So I think they're playing that shield more as just to waste time, either utility or shoot it themselves to waste time. But if you see again, this is what we're talking about. Minute 48, they already have full control of cash on this side. They have so much time to do whatever they want to do, come up with the next phase of their plan. All right, so we see this guy playing the same position that he played last time. So that's could be a potential problem because again, once you start playing, this is a high level of play, right? So when you play in these same positions that people are expecting, and that's a pretty common position, it's easy to get a pick there. Speaking of same thing, I think it was someone else who died last time, but I'm pretty sure this. I could be mistaken, but last time the mute had thrown a C4 through the Logi hatch and got a pick. I don't know if that's the case here, but obviously he did get a pick again with the C4. I don't see the kill marker anywhere. Okay, so just like we were talking about, predictable. The Zofia comes below. I am assuming Zos to spot like a hole right here because they know or expect someone to be sitting here. This dude has to reposition and then immediately gets fragged because he gets repositioned, right? So that's what we're talking about, predictability. When you're playing at this level of play, you can't do the same thing more than once. So that's what's happening. Oh my god. Well, my point is you can't do the same thing at the same time. But look at this. I mean, this is crazy. The timing that he could have got such a free kill, this Jaeger. He does get the ash, but then you see he makes a mistake here. It's like he re-peeks back into this. Right after he got the ash, he knew that someone was there. Instead of committing to this fight, he got his pick. They were up numbers. He could have just repositioned in the tuck of the wall over here or whatever. He had some options to where he could have played. He could even get on the bed. I mean, it's a dangerous position, but he'd still be alive, right? As a body on the board. There's 44 seconds left. Like he overcommitted to that. So he just threw his life away. It was a pick that they had that was nice, but then he threw it away right away. But then we see the Goyo get a real nice shot on I think it was the Maverick, which in my mind, obviously that's going to favor the Maverick, but then throws it away by getting killed by that mute just now. All right, so we did see they win the round. I don't know why my headset just died again, but I guess I'll plug it in. But I did charge it prior to this. So we see that they win the round, right? But the issue that's happening is that they're being a little bit too predictable. So that is the issue that they're running into, and this is going to be a big problem in future games throughout the season. But the second thing is that they're giving away free kills, right? So they got a couple problems. They win this round, but we're always trying to get better. So they're making consistent problems, which is what worries us, right? So on this one, um, they had wasted utility because they had that shield over there that was pretty much useless, got killed right away, um, didn't serve any purpose, so that was wasted utility. Dying to the same thing. Whoops. To the same things. Not playing numbers and strategy. So they did win this round, but that doesn't mean anything, right? They it just means that they won this round, but in the future, this strategy is probably not going to work because the next team that they play is going to be watching this and they're going to know, right? All right. Okay, so we're going back to CCTV, and then just like we're talking about, so same setup. Or actually, Valk is different, so they're probably going to six pick it though. All right, yep, just like we talked about. So same exact setup as their last CCTV. So now we're obviously this is fifth round in, and we're already seeing that very predictable, right? There's very little adaptations. They made a slight adaptation on the last round, but it wasn't anything that was a game changer, right? They did win, and I think that's more because Oxygen misplayed. They're still making, not really sure why they're making these holes at this point because it's not gonna. They don't put anything on the wall. They know that Oxygen is bringing three breaches or hard breachers. I don't know. Maybe it's just something to do in prep phase, but it really serves no purpose at this point, especially with the fact that they're not using anything on this wall. And that's what I'm talking about. I think in the last round they could have dropped the Malusi, like this round specifically, picked up a mute instead. Because if you think about the Malusi didn't aid in that round at all. Like her Banshees didn't do anything in that round. They didn't serve any purpose. The one that's on the plat wall got destroyed immediately. I'm not really sure where they put the other two. I assume one's on red somewhere. But it served no purpose, right? Um, and if you bring mute, you still get the C4, but then they can mute this wall, they can mute whatever, right? But mostly if they're trying to do the Oxygen's trying to do that pinch again, then they can mute this wall. This is where adaptation comes into play. This is where time utilization comes into play. If they're sitting there spending their time in prep phase and op phase talking about what happened in this and the last time they played this site, what do they need to change it, or what can they do to deal with it, they may have come up with a solution of playing mute, right, or bandit. Not because number one they could put bandits or a mute on the main wall. They're still going to get the wall, right? But it's going to delay. It might take an extra 10, 20 seconds. That's good for you. 10 to 20 seconds doesn't seem like that much, but when you think about how many times the attack has to execute in the last 20 seconds of a round, that's because time was wasted here and there, 5 or 10 seconds, and it all added up over time, right? So they could have put a mute there. They could have put a mute on this wall, which will help prevent the pinch. They can still get the wall, right? They could throw a nade over. They could just mav, like whatever. They can still do. They have options, but it's going to delay it. It's not going to be as free, right? And so all it is wasting time. And in this case, the Malusi is not really serving a purpose on this site. Besides the fact that they might use one piece of utility to get rid of her Banshee that's by the plat breach, which is what happened last time. I think I missed something here. All right, yeah. So this is what I want to talk about. It's been 3 or 4 rounds that I've seen someone playing in here, and they may just be showing face before they do anything, like, and then just leave, right? But what happens here is, especially when other people are watching these VODs, like the other teams that XSET's going to be playing, is you get in what I call pattern of life, right? And so when you watch anything, whether it's people, whether it's this game, whatever it is, animals, when you watch something long enough that you start learning what's patterns of life, right? So they start doing this, they have same patterns, people have the same patterns, animal have the same patterns. And so obviously in this game it's going to carry over. You have the same patterns. And it's been 3 or 4 rounds that we've seen one, like, I don't know if it's creators every time, but at least one person has been here in Strip Club at some point early in the round. So in the future, if I'm a team that's watching XSET, then I'm going to take that into account, that this might be a free pick if you can box this guy in before he can transition out. So that's something that they need to keep in mind, is that they're being very predictable, not only with their strategy, but with their patterns of roaming. Yeah, and you could see this Cade. He was in the same exact spot last time. This is going to become a problem. All right, so first thing that we can see outside of obviously the setup and everything we've talked about so far, basically half the round is gone, and look, both C4s are already gone. So at this point, remember the last round they basically won the round because the Malusi made a hero play, what I like to call him. Got that pick on the Hibana and stock, and then got that C4 down on the thermite right here, right? And that C4 was huge because that was basically what turned the tide. Like, getting the Hibana was one thing, but then that C4 was like the big thing, right? So, but right now we're not even a minute or not even halfway into the round, basically, and both of their C4s are gone. I'm not sure where the Malusi used hers, but we can see that the Cade had just used his right here, which I'm not really sure what he was trying to accomplish because, I mean, we're talking a pro level team. You'll see rushes, but like who's gonna breach this wall and just sprint into cash, right? So I'm not sure what he was trying to do with that C4, but that was a big waste of utility. And then just like we were talking about at the beginning of the round, so not they're doing the same thing, right? But the problem is in this specific strategy on this specific site, even though they did the same thing on Gym, I think they had a little bit more room to work with. But on this site, right, they're boxed into this area. This is it, and they've got rafters. This is the only territory they have. And then if you think about their positioning, we've got the same positioning. We got the smoke on red. We got the Cade right here in the tuck by the vent. We've got this guy down in swamp. We've got the Aruni over here on catwalk. And then last I saw, the Malusi was running around somewhere. Oh, we could see her. She's in blue again. So not only are they running the same strategy, but they're not doing anything in order to counter what Oxygen is doing. So if they're thinking about Oxygen as what they're doing, right? They know that they're going to open plat wall, and then the last time they what did they do? They rotated over here to master, and they opened the con wall, which is exactly what they're doing right now, right? So they're making this same play. They have no C4s left, and the only people that are in positions to do anything are the three, right? So the Smoke, the Cade, and the Aruni. The Aruni can get an angle here, get an angle there, right? But she's effectively trapped in here because they made the line. They didn't make the wall or the rotate. So the only option is to either jump in this window or run down and come up the stairs, right? But she's basically trapped in this box. So she's secluded. And then you have the two over here that's trapped in this little box. He's got nowhere to go. And then the Smoke is trapped in this little box. And then you got your two roamers downstairs who are accomplishing nothing, right? They have no influence on anything that's going to happen in this round right now, currently, based on their position. So, like we've talked about, the problem with their strategy is, number one, they're giving up a lot of free real estate. But number two, their roamers are completely ineffective. They might as well be dead, right? Because they can't do anything in this round. It would be better, even though there are flank drones and they're probably going to get spotted, even if they don't fully commit to a flank, if they start coming up the stairs and get some attention and make these guys start coming back and pull them, you know what I mean? That's going to waste 10, 15, 20 seconds because they're going to be concerned now that, oh, this guy's coming up behind us. There's so many options that the roamers could be doing here. And so when you think about if they lose this round, it's going to come down to obviously strategy and being predictable, but the fact that the roamers have zero influence on what's happening in this game or this round right now because of their positioning. They're not showing themselves. They have no C4s to contribute. They're just guns at this point, and they're in nowhere to take a gunfight. I know I talked about it in one of the videos recently, but you always have to think about what's going on in the round and how you can contribute to your team. Where can you position yourself to help your team? Like, you always have to be thinking about these things. We missed a kill because I was too busy rambling. Alright, it's the Cade. Same spot. Okay, he gets picked by this window right here by Maverick. So again, nowhere for him to go. Like, I'm not going to blame him for this kill. It's the strategy's problem right here is that they have nowhere to move. There's nowhere that they can go right now because of this strategy. And the problem is, as well, as they use the same strategy 2 times in a row. And they got smoked the first time. Like, it wasn't even close, right? Nice double. The other thing that you can see prior to those 2 kills is that because of all the angles that are going on, like, I think it was the guy in garage there, Rooney. Let me see if they go back to her. You can see how stressed out they are because there's so much for them to watch. Like, see, the Rooney's watching con side, watching breach side, watching bottom garage. So if you think about the amount of stress that Oxygen has put on XSET at this point, there's so many angles for them to watch. It's pretty crazy, and that you can just tell that it's definitely having an effect, at least in this round, mentally on them. Nice. 2v1 now. Oh, that was close. That could have been game changer right there, or what I like to call the hero plays. But misses out. I mean, it's the gun. Like, if he had a better gun, he might have won that. But either way, the round was tossed. So We'll pause it up. And what were we doing? End of round. So we'll type strategy again. Predictability. Or how do we want to say this? Yeah, we'll just do predictable. Predictable. Roamers not influential, right? Influential. I got it. I can spell. Free territory, or let's call that map influence is what we're calling it. This. So yeah, we got map influence. Thought we had a map influence somewhere else. Oh, map influence, map influence. Okay. So I'm just gonna leave it there. Oh, operator pick. All right. So obviously we're starting to see the. We can just get rid of this. We get the point. Oops. There we go. All right. So we got one more round to go, but we can see that they're very consistent in the problems that they have so far. So we'll just finish up this next round. Okay. All right. So we're seeing, again, same strat, same lineup. They're going to be doing the SSG style. Hopefully they play it better this time. Because obviously last time, like we talked about, it didn't seem like they really understood the purpose of that strategy. The other thing, and I get that this season is best of one, so you don't want to show too much, right? But I think that what needs to happen is like when you're in these games, and this is what people need to take in mind for the future, is when you're in these games, you need to be adaptable. Like if number one, if you're using your time correctly, which I don't think they are, based off of what we've been watching. The best that they can hope for is a 3-3 now, which isn't bad. Like, it's not ideal. You want the 4-2, right? But we definitely don't want this 4-2. So this is not bad. This is ideal. This is oh no, right? But what has to happen is like if you have strats that you want to show, that's fine. Like I understand that. And this is a best of one, but in best of ones, every round counts. It's not like you have another map coming where you can make up for it, right? This is the only map you're playing today, and this is every single round counts in this type of play style. It's not my preferred play style, but I'm not in charge, so I don't make the rules. But what needs to happen is when you're XSET in this case, and you're facing this kind of stuff, you need to be adaptable in the sense of like you don't have to show strats, but what is oxygen doing and how do we counter it, right? Because that doesn't mean that the next time you play Clubhouse, you're going to be doing those same things again because you're going to be playing a different team, they're going to be doing different things, and you're going to be adapting to them, right? So the fact that they're just sticking to these strategies every single round, not making any adaptations. I hope that it's just this week. Um, I don't know if I'll do another XSET because obviously I'll be covering other VODs, but if we do another XSET, we'll definitely compare notes and see if they're making the same mistakes. Oh, and I think because I was talking, seems to be happening all this VOD review. All right, so just like we're talking about, so this castle here, in my opinion, maybe it's going to come into use. I don't know, but in my opinion, this is a wasted piece of utility, right? Because if you think about the last time that OXG came through here and they took this site, they didn't even come upstairs. They took kitchen, they took first floor, and then they went to the basement. They completely ignored the top floor, right? So I mean, this is just like one of those things where this is the strategy, this is where we're going to put it, and that's going against everything we're talking about. Is like, even if you roam up here, that's fine, right? But if you think about what Oxygen did the last time and how you should go, you know, play it against them this time, why would you put this castle here when they never even came upstairs, right? So it's a 50-50 gamble. Like, they could come upstairs this time and it could come into play, but based off of what they did last time, and Oxygen has been pretty consistent with how they've done things, that you can assume that they could just completely ignore that top floor, and then that castle is just a wasted piece of utility up there. All right, so it looks like they got, I believe, 2 drones. But the nice thing to see that we just saw was that the Mozzie, I think he got 2 drones right there, and then he fell back, went into sight. Okay, nice. We see the Vigil doing the same thing. So this round is going better. The only problem is they've given up pretty much the whole top floor except for Mute there at 2 minute mark, right? But it looks like he's going to be the sacrifice, the Mute. He's last man. He's going to be the pawn, and he's just going to try and buy time and waste his life up there, which is fine. Good patience as well. Oh, very nice. It looked like there were 2 there. Was I wrong? I don't even think he saw the second guy because they were lined up. That could have been a double. All right. That's totally fine, because if you think the other 2 had fallen back at 2 minutes, he wasted a whole minute and he got a pick off of it. So, not a bad trade for sure. So I think he did his job. Um, but when I see, so what you see right now is they're weak against blue. They've got 2 church and 2 armory. Um, and then we already see a drone in blue, right? So they're weak against blue right now. Look like the castle might be going to blue. Not sure. That's a wasted C4. Free vert holes for them. Now they're going to open hatch. The other thing that we can take into account here is that it doesn't look like they impact tricked, right? So that's a big problem. I'm not sure where she used both of her impacts, but he's got an impact. So when you think about positioning and what is, they're still, like, they could have denied this hatch here if they had impact tricked, especially the fact that it's a thermite. So I would have probably, if I was an IGL or if I was just on their team in general, like this Mute, he could have said something, but he could have told the Vigil to reposition into Armory for the impact. That could have been a huge play for them. Nice pick. They're in sight. And they get smoked. So they lost the first half 4-2. And then, every round, same thing, right? So I guess this round was predictable. I'm going to type no adaption. can't spell. No adaptation. Bad positioning. Utility. Still can't spell. I think that was pretty much it for that round, right? Alright, so first half. Four two. We'll do lost 4-2. Right? And then we'll do overall. So the common themes that we saw were strategy, which again, I think they're a newer squad, so maybe they just haven't had time to get in these in-depth conversations, especially about contingency plans and that type of stuff, like the SSG strat. If someone pushes if they do a push from kitchen, how are we going to handle it? Like, these are contingency plans that need to be, or conversations that need to be had. Maybe they just haven't had time to have those conversations yet. So we'll see further into the season if we do any more of their VODs. But no adaptations for the most part. Over aggressive / not playing numbers when needed. Map influence. Wasted utility. Predictable, which I can't spell. And time utilization. I think it's pretty clear that watching through that, we can see that they don't use their time correctly. I don't know what they're busy talking about, if they're too busy taunting OXG in between rounds or whatever, but you can see clear as day, number one, they weren't changing their strategies at all, but number two, like, based off of the last time they played the site, they didn't do anything based off of what Oxygen was doing, right? So those are some big issues. This is where we'll leave it for today. And then I'll do the second half in the next couple days. Like I said, I'm going to break it up into halves because obviously it takes a long time. But so we can see what their common problems are. That they lost the half 4-2 on defense, which is really not good. But, some games are attacker sided, so maybe they'll come back on the attacker half. And then, obviously we have their themed problems here. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you for watching. I'll come out with the attack half here in the next couple days. Thanks.